the wise Orlando.
Welcome back to Mages and Murderdads, the best show dedicated to the Baldur's Gate franchise and beyond. I'm Cameron and I play Ticklevar the Sorcerer.
And I am Danny, and I play Balthazar, the Barbarian.
This is episode 36, and today we're going to Suldanessaelar.
Say that 3 times fast.
Suldanessaelar, Suldanessaelar, Suldanessaelar.
Well, can you spell it 3 times fast?
I can't spell it normally. I can't spell it 1 time fast. We're getting so close. This is I feel like I say that at the beginning of every episode. So it's kind of like Zeno's paradox.
Remember when we left Candlekeep and you said, we're getting so close, y'all.
Oh, Christ. That was 48 million years ago. That was right after an asteroid flopped into the Earth at maximum force, and then we began Baldur's Gate 1.
Mm-hmm. It was 72 weeks ago.
Oh, God. So I will say, let me give you this comparative, and I guess as a plug for some other people. So in our Patreon podcast, I think I mentioned last time that I'm reading Gene Wolfe's Shadow of the Torturer book. And I think you purchased that book recently as well.
I did.
But so I started listening to a podcast. This is a reread for me. I've read this book in the past, and it's called Alzabo Soup. I'll put it in the description. But I say all of that to say that they are reading the Book of the New Sun, 4 books, that makes one giant novel, and they read it about 5 pages per hour.
So when you say they read it 5 pages per hour, it's kind of like they read it and then they can reconvene and talk about it. And over the course of an hour, they will get through 5 pages.
In the first episode, they made it through chapter 1, which is, I believe, 5 pages.
That's great.
Yep. So it's going to take them like years and years and years. So there's at least one podcast that is going to operate at a slower rate than Mages and Murderdads.
You never know. We might get real slow in throwing a ball.
Oh, yeah, just fight by fight.
Absolutely. No, just click by click.
Oh, my God. I feel like I'm playing some of the fights in this episode click by click. So it won't surprise me if I'm like auto-pausing in between rounds. As much as I don't want to do that in Throne of Ball.
Also, one prediction I think you made a long time ago when you were saying, I don't know if solo barbarian will work. At the end of this game, there are dragons, Danny. There are dragons and fire giants.
I think I'm wrong. There are fire giants. That's true.
We haven't gotten to those yet, I guess, right?
No, we haven't.
Yeah. We shall see, but thus far, we'll talk about it, but thus far hasn't really been working out. So I usually give the synopsis. How did we get here? How did we get to where we are in the story right now?
We got to say our whole other thing. We got to say you got to like and subscribe. You got to hit the little thumbs up on the thing. You got to subscribe to the video content we make. You got to follow us on Twitter. You got to like us on Facebook. You got to leave comments that we like to read. You can go join us on our Discord and learn about tabletop role-playing games that we talk about endlessly.
One of those things. You can do a combination of some of those things. But we all know there's a part of you deep inside that wants to do all of those things.
And to contribute to our Patreon.
That's also a part of you.
You can listen to a whole other show where we talk about other things.
We've got well over 2 hours of just talking. A good 30 minutes of that's just Pumpkinhead. Just basically me telling you the plot of Pumpkinhead.
Yeah, that was
I listened to that and I realized I really went granular there, didn't I?
I edited some of it out, too. So, gives you a sense of where we were. In the same way that the last episode of Mages and Murderdads, I edited out quite a lot of talking about the specific locations of +4 and +5 weapons for defeating Gygaxian. Which was helpful at the time, but did not make for great listening.
Sure.
Well, so how we got here, all of that said, Lord in heaven, we went to the Drow, we went to the Underdark, Drow Town. We came out of Drow Town. We were told that Irenicus had taken over Suldanessaelar, which is an ancient hidden elven city, and he kicked a bunch of elves out, and then he hid the city again. He double hid the city. Oof. So we had to go back to Athkatla to get the Ren Lanthorn, which is some fantasy bullshit that I don't even understand at this point still. Even after multiple people in multiple different commenting locations have explained it to me.
Even after seeing it in action.
Yeah, I still don't get it. But anyway, so Bodhi had it. We killed Bodhi, finally. Imoen got her soul back, thankfully. And then now we're here. So the beginning of this episode is giving the Ren Lanthorn to someone.
Elon.
To Elon Musk, so that he can finally make that damn Hyperloop and get me to Chicago in 3 hours.
Or Suldanessaelar.
Or Suldanessaelar. That's right. But so this episode opens with me trying to figure out where the hell Elan is, because I forgot. Trying to click around the map to find him.
Did you end up going to the wild mage area that we never ended up doing?
I did.
Yes, me too. That's the first. I was looking at it, I was like, ooh, that sounds exactly where we need to go. No, turn around.
Yep, had the same thing happen.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad we're not doing that.
I should have, probably. The reason that I recruited Nero was to do that. And then I forgot, and then I was like, I'm not doing it. So sorry to everybody. Maybe I'll do it. I have save. Luckily, I have a very intensive number of save games for this game, and so I could always go back and do it by popular demand. If you really want to know about it, you let me know in the comments, and I will go back and do it for next episode.
I want to see just video of your save catalog using the Dewey Decimal System. Just they're all it's all just it's all these long form numerical saves that with a system only you really understands. Oh, well, if it's an odd save, that means it was at night.
1.1107 P39 point 1999.
Yes.
Yeah. Good God in heaven. We're getting close to the end of this game.
It's happening.
It's happening. I see that here in the show notes you've put Ron Paul in there. It's very sad that he was finally extradited back into the United States based on what Jill Stein, decreed.
Well, the problem is that's the one thing we didn't realize is once you set a precedent for if you're accused of crimes against humanity, you always get extradited. All it takes is one leader like Jill Stein to just start throwing out that accusation like candy, right? Ron Paul, crimes against humanity. Bob Vila, crimes against humanity. That fellow from the Iron Chef, crimes against humanity.
Oh, dang, the Iron Chef himself?
The Iron Chef himself.
From the original 1990s series?
No, his son.
Oh, okay. Don't speak out against the regime.
Well, I feel like we were all warned, so.
Yeah.
In any case.
We all knew.
This is, in fact, a Baldur's Gate show. So I guess you give this lantern thing that we don't understand to this person, and I teleport over somewhere. I ask questions before we teleport, and Elon's like, I can't. I'm not answering your questions. Am I being detained? And then we teleport away.
So look, that is exactly what happens, right? You're like, here's the thing. I would like a little bit of information about where we're going, and he's like, all right, I'll tell you something. And then any question you ask, he's just like, I'm not telling you.
Yeah.
And it just reminded me of a bad dungeon master.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So where you're like, well, what is the shape of the city? And they're like, well, you don't know the shape of the city. And it's like, well, what kind of enemies will I find there? And they're like, you don't know what kind of enemies. Roll knowledge. Oh, I'm sorry, you don't know about the enemies there.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like whoever the quest designer was for this section of the game was not talking to whoever the quest designer was for Suldanessaelar. And they were like, well, they'll figure it out. They'll do it.
Or it's just a very good simulation of a DM that lacks improvisational skills. So why did I get this? I'm not allowed to tell you that information. I can't tell you. I signed an NDA.
Oh, dang. That's the worst. That's the worst kind. To have a GM who has signed an NDA about your own campaign.
Yeah.
Some real shit.
So I teleport to a tree, and then they rub the lamp, and a door appears.
Yeah, Robin Williams flies out. He's blue as hell, and he's like, I can't do a Robin Williams impression, but imagine I'm doing one.
Just shout as loud as you can.
Like that?
Yeah, and through your hands, yeah.
But yeah, so and a hole appears, and I click on that hole, and a little cutscene plays.
Yeah, kind of similar to the cutscene we saw going to the asylum, and the cutscene we saw as we went into the Underdark, where it's like an overview of the area, basically. Mm-hmm. Like a 3D render of sorts. Which I have to imagine that had to have been made after the level was designed, right?
Yeah.
Or did they make that and then they design the level around that video?
I think they were probably done last. I don't know
Okay.
why. I don't know why you would wait, or I don't know why you do them first. Mm-hmm. And just because they actually really do, unlike a lot of games of this era, they really do correspond to things you can see.
Yeah, yeah. So we roll in there and we're told, elvish bodies everywhere. Elvish bodies everywhere.
Elf bodies everywhere.
It's a real problem. And the one thing before we cross the threshold into this doorway, the fellow that is leading us in, that has rubbed the magical lamp, says, "Oh, it's been so long. I can't wait to get back in." And I very much felt like these people are actual children, and like once they leave home, they can't get back without somebody helping them, without the help of an adult. And I know that we've gone over the fictional reason that Suldanessaelar is a hidden city, but you're telling me you don't even like know the foyer, the metaphorical magical foyer where you would go to, right?
No.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, yes, great. Yeah, I don't get it.
But it's almost like it. I mean, the only way I can make sense of this, it's not even an illusion that's hiding it. It's that it's not there. But yeah, so did you find Suldanessaelar a chaotic romp of just rampage? Did you see the dead bodies?
Yeah, I saw a lot of dead bodies. They were everywhere.
Yeah.
I saw some elves get killed. Mm-hmm. I accidentally got some elves killed on my own.
Oh no.
What I thought was interesting is when we first come in, and there's what's the guy's name? Elan?
I believe so.
So he shows up, right? Or he's like in the little he walks through the vestibule with you, right? Mm-hmm. And he's got like he's got like a wizard with him and a priest or something, some party members. And he's like, "Listen, there's Rakshasas here. And they've done illusions and whatnot, and they're bad." Mm-hmm. And so I think it's interesting, like, this isn't really remarked on, but Irenicus has really created a broad coalition of different people.
A coalition of the willing.
Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, truly. I mean, definitionally, it is, in fact, a coalition of the willing, of those who are willing to invade a ostensibly civilian city. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it was like dark elves, right? It's some demons. Some demons show up here.
Yeah, demons. He's got Rakshasa. He's got... I don't know if golems are a part of the Coalition of the Willing.
No, I think they're his golems, right?
Yeah.
Because remember, he had all those golems in his dungeon all the way
That's
back
right.
in episode 1.
That's right.
But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting... and vampires, too, I guess, but they're not here. But that was part of the coalition. Initially. So, I mean, I think that's interesting, especially given how Siege of Dragonspear is integrated into this whole story, right? So he got to see that broad coalition of the Crusade.
Ooh, you think that's what happened? That he kind of got the idea from the character, we can't remember her name?
Kalar Argent. I can remember it right now.
There you go. We couldn't do that last episode.
Yeah, I can't. This is the only time I've ever been able to pull it. I don't know. But I think that's like Siege of Dragonspear kind of opens up the world in that way, right?
Sure.
to think about those things.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was
Who
pretty
else?
cool.
I mean, goblins were in the dungeon, the first dungeon. Dwagar are in the first dungeon.
Yeah, they didn't really show back up, I guess, which is disappointing.
Well, we murdered all of them in the coalition.
That's true. There were only 6.
Yeah.
6
It's
guys.
like it's like in the Iraq War when there was like one attack on Liechtenstein's regiment, and they were just, well, that was all of them.
Dang.
I don't know if they were in the coalition of the willing.
So yeah, there was a lot of chaos going on. There were a lot of instances where I was walking down a path and it seemed like I aggroed a golem from like a different path,
Yes.
and it like whipped around behind me. I couldn't tell if that was on purpose or not.
I think I had that happen with trolls, and they just started wrecking people's stuff. And I think if I didn't aggro them, they wouldn't have wrecked people's stuff.
Well, hold on, you had trolls here?
Yeah, there are 2 trolls in the bottom middle.
I did not see a single troll.
They may have killed them.
You think you killed them in your game and then it got rid of them in all games?
Yeah, I killed them so hard that they were deleted from all instances of Baldur's Gate. You
Damn.
can't even corroborate that in walkthroughs because they don't exist in the walkthroughs, even walkthroughs written before I played this game, because I killed them so hard that it went back in time and deleted them from ever being programmed in the game.
It rippled forward and backward in time.
Because you got to remember, I've still got that 3-headed flail that, like, every form of damage it deals kills trolls.
Yeah, I still got that too. It's real disappointing to hit things with it, and for all of the damage of all types to be, for enemies to be immune to it. That's a real bummer.
That's got to be the real fun of attacking an adamantite golem with
Oh God, yeah. So let's talk about some of the enemies. So there's Rakshasas, and they're like in groups of 4 and 5, and
Yes.
they just like cast like area of effect, making life uncomfortable spells and like fireball and whatnot.
Sometimes they cast protection spells on themselves, like a form of sanctuary, the most annoying kind, the sphere, maybe the globe of invulnerability.
Minor globe of invulnerability, probably.
There you go.
Yeah, that thing is annoying. Yeah, I had a hard time with them. There were some golems. There were like iron golems and adamantite golems, who are just a real stomp on the foot, because you'll hit them, and I'm sure that Balthazar sees this too, but it's like Mazzy hits them for 3/28 resisted.
You got to remember, I've got Crom Fair, and it just kills golems.
Oh, and just one whack.
It kills all golems in one whack except adamantite golems, and adamantite golems can't seem to figure out whether... Because I'm using that as a hammer, and I'm still using the katana.
Celestial Fury.
Celestial Fury. So I'll be looking, and occasionally it'll have that message like you just talked about. Oh, hits for 3/28 resisted, right? And I'll be disappointed. I'll be sad, right? But I'll also occasionally hit them for the full amount of damage, and it won't resist. And I don't know if Crom Fair's like effect is only partially affecting, interacting with these golems, but difficult to know. They still die pretty quick, though.
I wonder if it functions the same way that magic resistance did in 2nd edition, where it's like a roll on a G100 up to their resistance. Like if it's like, I wonder if it's actually rolling numbers as opposed to taking it as a given or not.
Yeah, it sounds like that's probably what's happening. But yeah, the golems I could see are annoying, especially if you don't have a quick way to deal with the adamantite ones. They hit pretty hard.
They hit super hard. They hit for like 40 in a whack.
And a lot of these golems haste themselves.
Yeah, I think all of them do. Or at least all of them that I dealt with at like my level, right? Yeah, so like what we're supposed to be doing here, like we're supposed to be wandering about. It's actually really unclear.
Someone. Yeah, we're specifically tasked, I was, by a healer in the middle with saving an elf with an R name.
Yeah, I've got them both here. Yeah, that's what we got from Elan. And he said to look for Elisame or Demon.
Demon. Okay, so we're looking for Demon. So I think that's what So eventually I find Demon's house and I roll in there. And she's being attacked by a bunch of Rakshasa. And these Rakshasa, I think, because of plot reasons, don't cast a lot of the most annoying things they can cast for me are those globes of invulnerability. This just means I have to attack somebody else while that's active, or run away and then come back when it's gone. Mm-hmm. They don't do that, and I kill them all, and Denham's real thankful, and she's the one that says, hey, in order to get inside the palace, which at this point I had already passed across the palace and tried to open the door, and it didn't work out. In order to do that, you got to find these 3 artifacts.
So can I tell you how I learned about the 3 artifacts?
How'd you learn about the 3 artifacts?
So I go in to Demon's little room. The Rakshasas are there. There's a little bit of dialogue that happens. And then they begin casting, like, the make your life a living hell spells, right? So these area of effect.
Save or suck, as we remember it.
Yes. The classic.
Save or suck.
The Shakespearean phrase, save or suck. I believe that's in Romeo and Juliet when... the Lord of Cats says that Romeo must save or suck.
A plague on both your houses. Save or suck.
Save or But yeah, so I go in, they cast all these spells, and so I just leave. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I do a little bit of the fight, but, like, everyone is taking a huge amount of damage, so I just kind of leave, and I keep, like, poking in and out, and I'll, like, go outside and I'll heal, and then I'll poke in and, like, do a magic missile and come back out, and Demon just eats it. while I'm doing that.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, she just dies. And I was like, uh-oh, that might be bad. But it wasn't. So on her body, she had a note that was like, hey, you gotta get all these artifacts.
It's like a grocery list.
Yes, it was like, well, it's written as a letter, and it's like a panicky letter. It was to someone that's like, oh my god, they're in the not the palace, but like in the temple, and the artifacts are out there, and we got to get the artifacts, but I don't know where they are, and here's what they are, and like has the list of them.
Are there actual historical equivalents to this phenomena? And you also see it in Lord of the Rings, right? Like that scribe that was writing, and they're banging on the door right now. Boom, boom, right? Has anything ever happened in history where people actually wrote in those situations?
I mean, I'm sure that it has happened. But what, like, you know, just because the sheer number of times humans have done horrifying things to other humans is so high that
at some point somebody with a pen and some paper has just had nothing better to do.
Exactly.
As it was happening.
And so, but I think that probably what would happen 99% of the time is that someone would find it and burn it, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you definitely don't want to give someone you just conquered like a riveting tale of their heroes dying.
No.
Right. So.
That's the whole point of murder, is you're destroying a story.
Yeah, there are a lot of instances of, during the Russian Purge, of writers writing narratives about like being afraid of being purged and then hiding it, and then it being discovered like later into the Soviet Union years. So I guess they're like, that's not quite the same thing, but there's some of that, I guess.
Join us next Blue Monday for our bi-monthly discussion on historical purges and basically like the historiography of tragedy.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So did you find these MacGuffins?
I did go find them all. So I didn't really understand. Well, let's name them. There's a Moonblade.
The Moonblade.
Do you remember?
3.
Do you remember the Moonblade?
Yeah.
From the first game?
Oh no.
They're in the bottom of the Neshkel mines. There's an elf that you can recruit, and he has his own Moonblade. It's like tied to his character.
That's a Moonblade.
Yeah, but I'm just saying there is another time that a Moonblade has showed up in these games.
Yeah, so what's the definition of a Moonblade?
I don't know, probably the fucking moon.
Do you have to
have
to forge a sword during a full moon, and then it's a Moonblade?
I bet. Someone please tell us in the comments about what the hell a Moonblade is. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to look it up. But yeah, one would assume, right? Or maybe it's like, this is just pure speculation. I don't know anything about Moonblades. This is what I think.
Okay.
You forge a sword out of silver. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's a silver sword. And when you quench it in like oil and then water later, right? You are it's a full moon, and it's reflected in like the oil or the water or whatever. And you quench it in the literal moon and do some magic on it. And then that's how you get a Moonblade. That's
Well,
my just pure speculation. Yeah.
Somebody in the comments is gonna fully elucidate this.
Yeah, someone will let us know, and we will appreciate it. There's a cup, a goblet of life, I think is what it was called.
I called it a cup in the notes. I'm sorry.
I think it's a goblet. And then like the talisman of...
Yeah. Of the Leaf Lord.
Rilliphane. The Leaf Lord. Which definitely sounds like a professional wrestler.
Absolutely.
Like a bad one, right? It's like the Jolly Green Giant versus the Leaf Lord in the Battle of the Century.
Oh, that's really redundant.
Well, but that's the thing. They got to fight so you can determine who gets to stay in the league and who is made redundant.
Who gets to, like, maintain that portfolio.
Oh my God. That would be a very good one-shot, is that somehow, planar overlay or cross-planar travel, something, the Jolly Green Giant is transported into a fantasy world, and then there is like a Ragnarok to determine who gets to control plant life.
I just think that concept needs to be, moved into professional wrestling more fully, right?
The notion of the portfolio?
The notion of the portfolio. Like the $1 Million Man, there's another wrestler that comes onto the scene, and he also is very rich, and they're like, no, there can only be one. There can only be one, like, filthy rich wrestler. And so, like, and you can just, like... And when you win a wrestling match, you absorb that other wrestler's portfolio.
Oh my God.
So eventually, like, there's $1 Million Man, and he's like a lucha libre.
And he controls snakes.
And he controls snakes.
He just won. I mean, what are you going to do?
And then, like, so, like, the end game of all professional wrestling is just, it's just a couple of, of just these super wrestlers that are super thematic and that have like 7 different unique things, and then just the unwashed masses that have nothing. They're just dirt farmers.
But they're trying to get one portfolio.
They're trying to just get one portfolio. They're trying to do like a limited challenge. Look, if I can pin you for a 2 count, I at least get the snakes.
I get to just be generically Irish. That's just what I want. I get to be the one who wears a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
And chaps.
Well, WWE, hire us for
Yeah,
your
let
next
us know.
video game.
We're still waiting on that callback from Beamdog to write our various different scenarios for the next isometric game. But
so we're available.
Yeah.
They haven't called dibs, so we're out there.
yeah, but they get priority, of course.
Sure.
So the Moonblade, you go into like a location, and I will be honest, I think I started checking my phone halfway through this. I don't really know what happened. So there's a demon and an elf there.
Yes, and the elf says, and this is the most anime exchange between these two characters. It's very much Goku powering up on one side of the room and Vegeta on the other, mean mugging. Powering up also. I am going to smash you, puny elf. And then the elf says, no, you will not smash me. I have the Moonblade. Oh, well, I will take your Moonblade. I'm going to smash you, and then after you're dead, I'm going to take the Moonblade from you, and you won't have a say in it because you'll be dead. And the guy's like, oh, but what if both I and you are dead? Well, no, I'm not going to let that happen. And then and then the elf looks at the Moonblade. Moonblade, show us your power. And then they both die. And the Moonblade's just left behind.
And I snatched it up.
And you just picked it up. Yeah, that's the easiest MacGuffin to get.
It really is. And then the second one is the Goblet of Life. And it's held by a dragon named...
I killed this dragon so fast, I never was exposed to its name.
Its name is...
Is that really the name?
Nizidramanyinyit.
Perfect.
Nizidramanii apostrophe YT. And I know
I hate it that we have to live in a world where they're going to be... What, is Arya now probably the third most popular name for girls?
It's probably very popular, yeah.
Yeah, how many children have been named after Baldur's Gate dragons?
That is the real tragedy. These
That's the
millennial, just monstrous people who are just having children willy-nilly, naming them Khaleesi, naming them Jon Snow, naming them Kurt Eichenwald. None of them have named their children.
Or Fearcrag, or even Fearcrag.
Good Lord. Well, here's our pact right now.
Yeah.
The first of us who has a child will name it Fearcrag.
I feel like this is just a bet that's going to end up with neither of us having children.
Yes. This is the ultimate vow of celibacy. If you know, well, I'm sorry, I would have a child. I know that we're planning our next, the rest of our lives together. But
I have made a bet.
Yeah, I've made a promise.
I'm pretty sure Kunzelman's not having a kid, so.
Yeah. So, well, here's little baby Furcrag. But yeah, so the reason I know its name is that I have my, of course, Baldur's Gate 2 Shadows of Amn perfect guide, created by Versus Books, and I had to look at this goddamn thing because I spent a full hour trying to kill this dragon. Oof. People get to see some great highlights of that probably right now in the video. Mm-hmm. But let me tell you, like, this was so I tried for probably 15 minutes and I was like, all right, there's got to be a way to do this maybe more easily. And
there's got to be a better way.
There must be a better way. And there's not. That's the end of that. But this is what it says. This is perhaps the least helpful information I've ever received from a strategy guide that was not the Final Fantasy IX strategy guide. Mm-hmm. So when you approach the dragon, you'll have the choice to either trade him all of your belongings or fight him. So maybe that's an interesting thing to find out. When you walk up to him, he says, all right, well, Irenicus is going to give me a lot of gold to keep being an asshole and hanging on to this goblet. But if you give me every magic item you have, you can just have it. Which that doesn't really work out, right?
I don't know if the game would be completable.
Yeah, it would certainly be very difficult. Mm-hmm. So that's bullet number one. That's a no-go.
Unless it's all the magic items on the main character.
No, it's everyone. Yeah.
I guess you could go back to Joaquin's Promenade, lay down all of your items.
So later on when I read down to the bottom of this very page, it says you could just throw all your items on the ground and do it, which I did not do before. But the second bullet point here says, when you prepare to fight him, do all the obvious preparations like haste, aid, chant, armor, shield, and whatever other protection spells you can conjure up. Those are all like level 1 and level 2 spells.
Yeah.
They are not helpful. Like even remotely helpful.
Really?
He breathes acid. At
aid
will.
Doesn't stop acid?
No. Aid just gives you a +1 on saving throws.
Well.
So it's really just like, there's a giant man-eating spider that lives in the tree, and so make sure that you have bug spray on your body. So you don't get eaten by the giant man-eating spider.
Yeah.
Anyway,
this might have been the intern at Perfect Guides.
Yeah. This was the last. But yeah. So I finally killed him. It took forever.
What'd you have to do in order to succeed?
I had to create. Okay, you want me to tell you my grand strategy?
Yes, and sing it to Beyonce's Formation.
I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
I summoned 5 Mordenkainen swords. I gave them all haste. Mm-hmm. I moved them all to the very bottom of the screen, and then I moved a character inch by inch down the screen so I could make sure that when the dragon spawned in finally out of the fog of war, that I could immediately surround him with the swords. I turned off all my characters' AI. I lined all of my wizards up in a big firing line as if they were part of like a British war formation in 1770. Okay. And then I had the swords begin attacking the dragon. When the dragon began casting self-buffs, I just went wizard to wizard and had them cast like Pierce and Remove Magic and all, Kelbin's Warding Whip. All of those things that remove spell protections.
Just on a rotation, like 5 seconds offset for each wizard.
Yes, basically. So there was something constantly interrupting spell protections, and until the end of the fight, I basically got it down to half health that way, and then brought in Viconia and Jaheira, so they weren't even part of the fight for a big chunk of it. And that was how I did it.
Dang.
Yeah. No one died.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, first dragon fight where no one died.
The dragon did.
Well, the dragon died, but no one in my party.
Didn't really drop anything important other than that cup.
No, I can't think of anything that he dropped. But we're kind of beyond that, at this point.
We are.
Of things that matter that drop.
And then I guess the last thing was this talisman that just had a puzzle, and the puzzle, in order to access it, you had to like click a fireplace or something.
Yeah.
Or some kind of altar, and it said, hey, you could probably go upstairs to figure out the solution of this riddle, and I said, nope, and I just started clicking until I got it.
Well, it just worked out.
Yeah, it was just fine. The first answer was the elven war deity. Corellian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Corellian Letherin or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, did you see that drow? That was like hanging out in front of one of the things?
No.
He summoned, he had a demon with him.
Oh, that's right. No, I murdered him. I didn't realize he was a drow.
Yeah, he just had like some funny dialogue. He was like, why, hello there. I see that you're wandering around. I guess I should tell you my monologue. And he like monologued about everyone having to be indoors. And then he summoned Pit Fiend and I killed him.
Mm-hmm. Drow are well known for their support of curfews.
Yes. That's in fact a big part of the third Drizzt Do'Urden novel, which I have finished.
Ooh, we'll have to talk about that on the next Patreon podcast.
We'll talk about that. I got a lot of strong feelings about the way the Forgotten Realms treats religion, like in a general setting sense, versus how those novels think about religion, which is very, very different. Yeah, so. Worth talking about. That'll be on the Patreon podcast. If you want to hear us talk about that book, go subscribe for $5 a month.
So when we get all of the MacGuffins, we can take them to the little temple.
Yeah.
And throw them in a pool.
Yes.
And then something happens. What happens?
So explain what it was like for you to do this whole thing.
I threw it in. And a big fuzzy golem appears.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
So you when you go into the temple, there's a bunch of stuff in there, right?
There's a bunch. I had already killed all these people. Yeah.
But the first time you go in, there was a wizard, right? There's like a wizard, a giant adamantium golem or adamantite golem, whatever they are.
One of those demons with like 2 snakes on their back.
And then a Rakshasa.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like kind of like the heavy hitters of this whole area, and they're all there together.
And I immediately go to the guy, the wizard, hit him once, and then leave, and then rest, and then go back in, and then kill them all.
So I went in there one time, and I was like, oh, this is like the big kind of end of area battle, right? So I avoided it until the very end, when I had all the items that I had to put in there. And then, because I waited to the very end, I read a section of this guidebook that says, this is at the very bottom of the page, it says, if you postpone this battle until after you've acquired all 3 artifacts, you can get one of the coolest little cheese effects in this game.
Ooh.
Try this, : as soon as you enter the room, place the artifacts on the altar, and then watch the avatar make chunks out of all the enemies in the room.
Sweet.
So I had all my people hasted. I went into the room. There's the wizard, like we just talked about. That's all there. And I just, Chikkelvar just sprinted to the thing, threw all the crap in the pool, and then a big fuzzy golem appears.
And by fuzzy, I don't mean hair. I mean he's just out of focus.
Yeah, he's a god. Mm-hmm. Like a literal avatar of a god.
Much like Sasquatch, deities you can't really get a bead on them.
Yeah, hard to photograph. Just not great. But yeah, Rilliphane, the Leaf Lord.
The Lord of Leaves.
Yeah. And so he shows up and he just smites them all to death. Like they evaporate. They're gone for good. And then
for me, he summons nature spirits.
Hell yeah, and they start cleaning out the rest of this city.
And every time he speaks, it begins with 2 asterisks and everything's in all caps, and then it ends in 2 asterisks.
I love that when a god speaks in this game, it's like you're trying to get a lot of attention in an AOL chat room in 1999. Mm-hmm. Like you're RPing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very weird effect. You would think they would be able to like change the color or something, right? But maybe not. Maybe the dialogue system was not that robust for Baldur's Gate 2.
Sure.
But what is he kind of gives us a lot of information.
Yes.
So what did we learn?
Well, if you didn't know it already, you learn that Irenicus and Bodhi are the exiles. Have we already spoken about exiles?
No, we didn't.
So he would tell you that, but you can find this out before by talking, I think, to Denham.
Yeah, by talking to someone. I mean, she died, so I didn't find it out that way. But yeah. Someone else can tell you.
Basically, Irenicus and Bodhi were once elves, and they did something terrible. Specifically, what they did was they attempted to steal energy from the life tree around which Suldanessaelar, has formed or exists. And the life tree is kind of the elves' connection to divinity itself. It's their spiritual connection in the world. It's very important to them in a soteriological sense, I gather. And when Irenicus attempted to sap energy, to drain energy from this tree, many elves got very sick. And when they found out that he was responsible, the elves and the leadership of these elves, including the queen, tells Irenicus, you can't be an elf anymore. And they just remove his elfdom from him, and thus his immortality. Yeah,
the gods.
The Celadrine. Yeah, the Seldarine.
Seldarine, yeah, I think. Mm-hmm. They literally stripped his, species being from him. Mm-hmm. Which is just some real next-level shit.
Yeah, that's the real... And I think that the queen... And what's the queen's name?
I don't remember her name, but yeah, the queen of the elves.
The queen of the elves had a thing with Irenicus. It's said by Denham that even she turned her back on him when he did this thing, even though he had her favor.
Yeah, my impression, because they have a conversation a little bit later on, and I kind of got the impression that he might have been king of the elves. I got the impression it was that, because they talk about loving one another.
Yeah, I think it was more of he was a consort. I think she was still the political power.
Yeah. Kind of like the English queen and then the prince or whatever.
Yeah,
Prince, whatever.
Prince Charles.
Well, no, that's her son. I think
he's also Prince Charles.
Oh, good God! Come on, Britain, get your shit together.
Yeah, sorry.
What's interesting too is that the Queen of the Elves is the person that he was trying to clone all the way back in his dungeon. Remember, he's making all those clones that were elf women?
Yes.
He's trying to make facsimiles of her.
We also remember that he had detained 3 nymphs. Mm-hmm. And he references that later in terms of trying to spark his inner elf, his ability to love again. But that was stripped away from him also in this punishment. So anyway, he's back for revenge / to finish what he started which was draining this tree. And what is this divine entity's relationship to that tree? Is that clear to you?
The Leaf Lord?
Yeah.
He's just one of the Seldarine. Mm-hmm. Like, he's like Helm. You know what I mean? Like, he's just a god. Mm-hmm. But I think this avatar in particular just has the protector function.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So he's related to the tree in the sense of he's related to that divine energy, whatever space, but...
So these elves are immortal.
I don't know if they're immortal.
I think they might be.
Unclear.
Yeah.
I mean, D&D elves are not immortal, right?
No, they aren't. They're, hundreds and hundreds of years,
Yeah.
but not immortal. Anyway, I wonder if, is it all elfdom that this game is saying that is related to this tree, or just this particular type of elf?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I would assume this particular type of elf. Otherwise, this just doesn't make sense in relation to any other Forgotten Realm property.
No. So in any case, this divinity's like, yeah, I can't actually help you defeat Irenicus, but I can open the door to the palace.
Oh, can I say one additional thing here, though?
Yeah.
When the Seldarine come up, Viconia does have stuff to say about the Seldarine.
Ooh, what does she say?
It's nothing too specific. It's not like there's plot information to it. But what the structure that they are referring to about divinity and the Seldarine and the relationship to the elves, she recognizes it too. So it's at least bigger than this one group of elves.
Ooh,
like whatever this divine connection is. But yeah, he just opens the door for you.
Mm-hmm. He summons a bunch of spirits of nature around the level that help you defeat any remaining enemies.
Yep. And so...
That also happens.
Yeah, you gotta run back around. I didn't have to run back around because I'd already collected them, but there's a stone horn and a stone harp.
Yep.
And so you go through the door that he opened, and you go and you put the horn and the harp on a statue, and that creates a little spiral staircase. And there are some nuts on a tree in a garden. And
got to do that.
And you got to get these nuts because you use the nuts to create passageways between branches.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very weird design stuff. But what is interesting here, you wouldn't have gotten this, but before I went down the spiral staircase, and the game very clearly is Irenicus is in the next area. You're getting close to the end of the game. Just be aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
The game is very kind of heavy-handed.
I did get that.
Yeah, so you got that. So I got that one as my main character. But then, alongside all of those, I got a little conversation with each of my party members. That was I was basically giving them the option to leave if they wanted to.
Ooh.
Yeah, and none of them did, of course.
Okay.
But yeah, it was basically there were three dialogue options. One was I don't want you to have to come with me. And one was if you want to come with me, then you can. But it's very dangerous. And the other one's well, here we go. So it was kind of allowing me to set the standard of each, of the expectations, I guess, of each.
What standard
NPC.
did you set?
I mostly just said, oh, here we go. Because I didn't want them to leave,
Yeah.
I wanted them to keep on going. But they were all very positive. And we went down into it's kind of the lower branches of the tree, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is that what you would say this is?
Yeah, I mean, it has to, in order to make sense geometrically, because you go into this palace, the quote-unquote palace, and you see the dimensions of it, right? So I imagine that entrance area where there's the tree and the fountain that you go down the spiral staircase, you have to be going a level below in this tree house, right?
Yeah.
So you're just going below the platforms that make up Suldanessaelar proper, and you're kind of going towards the middle of the tree.
Yeah. And down in there's all of these big branches and then smaller branches. And the idea is if you have the nuts in your inventory, that when you get to the end of the big branches, it creates pathways to other ones in a very organic and weird kind of way. But there are these big... I don't even know what you would call them. I mean, they're parasites, but they're like bugs, I guess.
Exactly.
Mutant bugs.
Yeah, I mean, they look kind of like weird Ankh eggs, to be honest.
Yeah, they got like 4 big arms, but they're sapping the energy from the tree, and so you have to kill them. But when you click on them to kill them, they summon elementals, and so you have to defeat the elementals.
Which that's pretty common in the insect world.
Yeah. That is the dung beetle's classic defense. It creates its big ball, and then a fire elemental falls.
Little mephits pop out.
Yeah, steam mephits. Oh, poop mephits.
Oh, damn.
There's got to be a poop mephit, right? Mud mephit. But yeah, so Irenicus is like in the middle of this zone, and the Queen of the Elves is also here. She's like talking to you in various different times during this whole little thing here at the end.
And she's the person that tells us, hey, you've got to kill the parasites before you fight Irenicus.
Yeah, it's very like boss fighty.
Yeah.
Like a boss fight that takes up the whole area. And he's got like a globe of invulnerability around him, and he's like sucking all the energy up. But when you pull the final parasite down, the invulnerability globe goes away, and you have a long conversation where he kind of explains all the things that we were just talking about, right?
Yeah. And he directs most of the conversation to his former lover, the elf queen. There was a part of me that just really, I wish the evil characters had the opportunity to just stab him in the back while they're having this lengthy dialogue.
Yeah. Just let Viconia just club him over the head and be done with it.
Yeah.
But, so how did your Irenicus fight go?
Yeah, it was pretty easy. He time stops and then casts like clone, not just illusion. It's like a clone.
Yeah, simulacrum.
Yeah. So I just said this doesn't seem like a good situation. So I ran away and zoned out, and then zoned out of that area back to Suldanessaelar proper. Rested, went back in, and then berserked, hasted, and then just attacked him, and he died. Because I think that like once they do their time stop, they can't do a time stop again.
The classic stopping the time stop maneuver.
Yeah, if you get around time stop, any enemy in this game that can cast time stop, if you can engage them in a way that does not allow them to cast time stop, they are not that difficult.
Yeah. There's, I think, there's cast time investment in time stop, I believe. Yeah, I didn't do it quite that way. We just started wailing on him. I had a couple summoned monsters. I had like a fire elemental, and we did a really good job. I was, spell piercing him and warding whip and all these other pierce magic, all that stuff. And we're wailing on him, and I get him down to 1 pip, and then he time stops, and he doesn't cast simulacrum when he time stops. He casts like 2 delayed fireballs, and then Ice Storm, I guess is the name of the spell. So
he went offensive.
Yeah, he goes offensive with AoE attacks. And so that kills Nira, and so everyone else just ran away. And as I was running away, I was summoning monsters behind me. I was like stopping, I'd summon a monster and keep running, and then summon a monster and keep running. So he was like blowing through his spells, and eventually I think someone shot him and he died. But
that's more dramatic.
It was a very dramatic. Like I ended up all the way on the right side of the map to do it, and Nero was dead, and her equipment was on the ground, and it was like a pretty heart pounding because it's the end of the game. This is the final big boss fight for the end of the game. There's no more game after it up until throwing a ball. So I was like, it doesn't matter if someone dies, right? Like this is the whole thing. And then when he hits the ground, there's some dialogue that's saying like, I didn't feel my soul come back, right? Because it's the whole reason we're trying to find Irenicus or one.
Yeah, and you see the animation of like a ghost, a soul leaving his body, the spirit leaving his body, and the dialogue or the message the game's giving you says, yeah, you feel your soul going the same direction that soul just went that you saw leave Irenicus.
Yeah, and then there's a cutscene, and then we woke up in hell.
In hell, yes.
In hell, in the 9 hells.
Doesn't specify which of the 9.
Let me look. You want me to look at my guidebook?
Sure. I mean, it might specify later, but
It doesn't say.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's just it's Judeo-Christian hell.
It kind of is, right? It kind of is, and it's what ends up being, I think, a pocket plane, or kind of a personal plane, a ball plane. But we'll talk about that next time on what will be the final gameplay episode, at least, of Baldur's Gate 2, Shadows of Bond.
Oof.
For Mages and Murderdads.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
We're getting there. I want to give a real quick update, too, that the last time that I picked a spell, when Chikkelvar leveled up, I picked a spell, I picked Simulacrum, and I got a comment on the YouTube video that said, why the hell did you do that when you could get Horrid Wilting, which just annihilates things? And I was like, well, I think Simulacrum would be cool. And I stand by that. It has been cool. It's actually been quite useful so far. But this time when I leveled up, I was like, I'm going to get Horrid Wilting. And I clicked on the wrong thing. And so now I have I have Symbol Stun, which seems absolutely useless.
That seems way worse than, like, a spell that's just save or stun seems objectively worse than save or die.
Yeah. Yeah. Horrid Wilting literally pulls all of the moisture out of your body. That's the description. So,
useless against sand elementals.
That's the one weird trick, to never hurt a sand elemental.
Moms hate this.
Sand elementals love it. Water
Doctors
elementals
hate this one weird mom who knows to protect her children with sand elementals.
No one likes that. No one likes the wizard mom with sand elementals.
No.
All right.
But yeah, I think that was this. It's hell next. We're going to hell.
We're just going to hell.
Episode 37. You've heard it here first.
You can hit the like button on this video. If you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and do that. You can follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, leave a comment. You can see all that down in the description below. And if you want to come hang out in our Discord and talk about Baldur's Gate or Dark Souls or PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds or any of the other various things that we are interested in, you can come do that, and you can see that down in the description below. You can also contribute to our Patreon if you want to listen to our other show or read our monthly newsletter. Both are quite good. We put a lot of time and effort into those, and that's as little as $1 a month or $5 a month. It's good.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for tuning in. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks with the final episode.
Ciao.
A wonder.